Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the midweek programme here on Westmeath Erie TV. I'm delighted to be joined this evening by Thomas Mount and by former Westmeath manager Luke Dempsey. Luke, you're very welcome.
Thanks very much, Paul.
We're going to go through a few bits and pieces from last weekend. It was the Senior Championship, which threw up quite a number of surprising games and quite a number of surprising results in the Senior Championship. And at the end of it, I was informed, Brendan Shaw, the county game secretary, informed me that of the 24 teams in the Intermediate and Senior Championship this year, only 3 of them have actually nothing to play for the last day, which is not a bad championship, I suppose, look, when you look at it in that scenario. And it's great that every team has something to play for now. Some of them are playing the battling relegation as well, but there is something to play for everybody, which makes a championship out, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, but it's been a great championship since the way it was set up, that they put the 6 top teams in one group and then the 6 lesser, for want of a better word, teams in the other. It means the matches are going to be very competitive, especially in the 6 of the lesser teams where only 2 come through. And if you look at the Westmeath, all the championships, I mean, there's some intriguing matches coming up now. It's really getting to that business end, and it always has been, from my time in Westmeath, a great structured championship where invariably the best team comes out on top. So yeah, it's great.
That's what you're hoping for at all stages. Like you want the best team to win a championship. Funny enough, I thought last year's championship was a decent way to run it as well, if I'm being totally honest, with the 4 groups of 3. But again, it's horses for courses, and we're down now. It's the nitty gritty time. It's squeaky bum time for an awful lot of clubs, including my own, I have to be honest. But it's squeaky bum time for an awful lot of clubs. But then again, there are other clubs who have progressed along. And we're going to start with one of those clubs. The Downs played Kinnegad here last Saturday night, I think. And if I'm being totally critical about it, it wasn't the greatest game in the world. It was extremely defensive on both sides. I know both sides were missing an awful lot of players, particularly Kinnegad. They were missing Darren Giles, Jack Torpey. Shane Fleming only came on as a sub after a few minutes. The Downs lost Conor Coughlin after 6 minutes. It could have been even less. So there was a lot of injuries on it. It also was a fixture that really meant, not all it meant was who was going to top the table, and it's going to be now the Downs are guaranteed to top the table. They will go straight into a semi-final. And after a sequence of events from last week, it looks like Kinnegad are going to make a semi-final as well. It wasn't the greatest game in the world. The highlight for me, if I'm going to be totally honest, was the reappearance of Luke Coughlin, who came on for the Downs as a sub and scored 2 absolutely wonderful points, I have to say, and actually made a goal line clearance almost on the edge of his own D, or on the edge of his own box. I think it was the missing piece that the Downs needed. They were struggling for a scoring forward, and I think with Luke back now, I think they might have discovered that, and I think they're now the team to beat.
Yeah, they really have started the championship in a blaze of glory, and the Downs are always hard to beat. They're very spirited. Stephen Cleary has done a great job with them, with John O'Mahony in the background. And delighted to see Kinnegad have made great improvements. Like the new manager in from Roscommon, they've an awful lot of our school team from Roger Bridge actually on that team. If you go right through it, whether it's the keeper, Sean and Kieran Daly full back, and Josh Gahan, right up to the lads you mentioned. So, when they be playing the Downs, every match they play is like a new game for a new panel, a new manager. So Kinnegad have really progressed, in my opinion, and the fact that they have reached the semi-finals, regardless, some of the matches you'll get in the club championship can be awful affairs to look at, but the managers go back with the panel and they assess and say, right, that was a fantastic result.
Yeah, it'll matter little. It'll matter little to Kinnegad. It'll matter little to the Downs. That was a bad game either. Let's be honest about it. This is it's a score-driven competition.
I think your point about Luke Coughlin is very apt in that he was in the next few matches. He's going to be a key player.
Yeah,
his talent is undoubted, and it's great to see him back in the Downs colours. And if the Downs are, now that we're in the latter stages of the championship, are to progress, they're going to need him at his best, because there are some very strong teams still there.
They're still the strongest team I've seen so far. I thought up to last weekend, I thought Kinnegad were, maybe it's a little bit premature to say, they didn't play up to their potential, in my opinion, against the Downs last week. Maybe it's because the fact they already knew they were through. Maybe they have a couple of injury worries. Maybe they're trying to get these boys back. But I just thought it didn't mean as much to them to lose as normally would. You know, I know Kinnegad of old, they hate losing. And the Downs definitely hate losing. And they were absolutely, they wanted to win it. Like Kinnegad took the lead, they got a goal, went 3 points up. Looked like they were going to plough on at that stage. But it was the battling qualities of the Downs that struck me most. Particularly going into a knockout phase of a championship. I think that's what they're going to need. The fact that they could bring Luke Loughlin in and kick over a couple of scores, like when you badly need them. They got a great goal, they got a great second goal. Niall Mitchell is an absolute terror on the edge of a square. You know, he's a big strong man. As Paddy said long ago, you know, a fellow with a big arse will move mountains for you. And it's true. He was just on the edge of the square. Your old style full forward, your bomber list, and play the ball into me, lads. If I don't get it, someone around me will get it. And I thought he was excellent.
Yeah, and like he's actually quite a good player.
He is,
well.
he can play a bit.
Absolutely, and you know, they're very physical, strong team. So let's just
extremely fit as well, Lou.
Yeah,
they're extremely fit now. They're probably one of the fittest teams I've seen so far. Tom, I go through the stats here on the game for it. So anything to particularly?
Yeah, no. Look, I suppose the two big things in that game were that Kinnegad couldn't get a platform from their own kickouts, so they won 7 out of 16 their own kickouts. Restarts is a huge part of the game nowadays.
Yeah,
you know, keeper's probably gone to the most important player on the pitch. The All Ireland final was probably decided between Morgan and Henley. Yeah. Henley makes 2 mistakes. Morgan sets up
and kicks over a score.
You know, it just shows the importance of goalkeepers nowadays. Downs won 10 out of 15 their kickouts, gave them the platform.
Without a very tall or a very overly commanding midfield, in fairness. That's no disrespect to the lads, but like, I mean, there are bigger midfielders in the county now. Having said that, I think Jonathan Lynham has certainly stepped up to the mark in the centre of the field for the Downs. He pulled up a couple of great balls out of the sky here at the last day, and Kinnegad had 2 big men at the centre of the field and never really got close to him, you know. So that's a telling statistic of that.
And just the second point was, I suppose, both teams, you can nearly tell it was a defensive game with the amount of turnovers. There's 50 turnovers in that game, 26 for the Downs, 24 for Kinnegad, and I suppose with both teams trying to force them when it got to the attack. In my opinion, in the defensive game, the 2 magic moments both came from Niall Mitchell.
Yeah.
From the goal, you could actually see him. I was sitting parallel with him, and you could actually see before the goal, he's looking to see what's going on around him.
Yeah.
He's looking to see, and he could see he's actually planning that little flick. He gets unlucky, he comes off the crossbar. But we'll show these in the analysis here. Like, you'll see here, ball comes in from Murray, and Mitchell wins it and tap in.
But it's a quality ball again, though, Thomas. Do you know what I mean? Like, they know where to play it, and they know to play it in front of him. Just that if he can get the slightest touch on it, which is exactly what he did, he barely got a hand to it. But at the same time, though, he had them absolutely terrorised.
And you see there's the little look to see where the keeper is, comes off the crossbar and flicks it in. So, do you know, in my opinion, the 2 magic moments of that game, he had a huge part in both of them. Like,
yeah.
You know, he's having that effect at the moment. In them close games, he seems coming up with magic moments again. Against Gary Cassidy, did a similar thing.
Very similar, yeah. And he had to come off actually in the Gary Cassidy game. I just think the Downs are getting stronger. I have to be honest. I think they're getting better as the games go on. I know they're a very young side as well, Luke. You know, both of these teams, actually, Kinnegad are a fairly young side as well. And they're at an enormous rate of progression, in my opinion.
Oh, definitely. And like, any time Lomans ever played the Downs, you were always worried about Niall Mitchell, and you'd nearly be hoping that he had hurling the day before. He was very dangerous. But just on Thomas's stats, like between the 2 clubs, I think they still have a lot to improve on.
Yeah.
Kinnegad really want to work on those stats about kickouts and the turnovers. They're both going to make similar mistakes in the next round. It's why I don't think either of them will win a championship. Still, I still think they're in the process of improving. Especially Kinnegad. I mean, that's nearly like an under 21 team.
Yeah.
And about 9 or 10 of them. I know they have some very experienced players like Stephen Bracken, and Owen O'Brien is around a few years now. With Darren Giles, Ger Leach, but I still think that both teams will need to improve, and the fact that they have to sit and wait for a quarter final is
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on that. I'm not so sure about the sitting and waiting process for the teams that actually win that their grade of the championship, that they have to wait for a quarter final. I think the other teams actually improve by actually having a game prior to a semi-final.
Yeah, well, it stands to reason that you're getting a tough competitive championship match. You can play all the challenges you like.
Doesn't make any difference.
It doesn't make any difference, but having said that, if Kinnegad go back to the drawing board, and by all accounts they're training very well and they're really taken to their new manager, and they'll work on those aspects of the kickouts, etc., and the Downs work on the turnovers because they're having a great year so far. Who knows? They could be there or thereabouts.
Yeah, on the turnover thing, I think it was just excellent defending by both sides. We can talk. It wasn't pretty to watch. We had it here live on Airview TV, and it wasn't pretty to watch. But at the same time, if you were looking at it from a defensive point of view, as you said, as a coach, maybe if you're looking at it from a defensive point of view, those turnovers, they're as good as a score to some of these teams, because it was quality defending on both sides. It wasn't just turnover for the sake of turnover or bad play or anything like that. It was they were surrounded in so many cases.
Even with that, like some of the Downs turnovers were balls kicked in denial, didn't win them, so it doesn't really have that much of an impact. Instead of, say, a turnover in that middle third, it was a long ball kicked in. It's not as much it doesn't hurt as much in the score, but you have time to get set again. Where it's them turnovers in the middle third, I suppose, where Kinnegad got turned up a couple times middle third, Downs were able to break, and that caused them a bit of damage. And
scoring chances, Tom, how did both fare out there?
Yeah, so both teams in their scoring chances. So again, Kinnegad had 7 wides, Downs had 7 wides and Kinnegad had 8 wides, so it was not much in it.
No.
The big thing was that I suppose Kinnegad scored 1-2 from play, 7 from frees, so big reliance on frees and marks.
Yeah.
Whereas the Downs got 2-6 from play.
Yeah.
So come the business end of the championship, teams are going to be coached not to give away them frees.
Yeah, I'm kind of I kind of oppose Luke's opinion. I still think both of them have a major part to play in this championship. I really do, and it wouldn't surprise me on county final if they were both in it again. Maybe I'm looking at it because you never win a championship in the early rounds, but I do think I honestly think both of them will go back and go back to the drawing board and maybe come up with something else. I do think the fact that they're both in the semi-final is actually detrimental to their chances, as opposed to it actually is not helping them to be making the semi-final as opposed to making the quarter-final.
I go back on what I was saying, Paul, in that the Downs have been knocking on the door for the last few years.
Yeah, I agree.
And they're very
probably
good.
Should have beaten St. Lomans last year, if we're being honest.
They're very good on the break. And when they break you down in the middle third, they're excellent at getting forward. I would put them in a county final quicker now than Kinnegad.
Okay. Yeah.
So, but still think there's a couple of strong teams left.
There are a couple of strong teams, yeah. We'll move on to one of those strong teams anyway. We had Athlone and Terrell's Pass here last Sunday night.
Play will resume with a free kick for Athlone. They had the possession and they move it inside, going to ground in there, but good work there by the Terrace Pass backline, and they turn them over there. But again, Brian Slevin coming out with the ball doesn't have proper control on it there, and eventually it goes to ground. Was it picked off the ground? No, said the referee, and the play goes on here. Athlone trying to get a little bit of space. Ray Cannellan bursts onto it. Ray with the right foot curls it in. I don't think that one, it is on target. We were behind that one, Tom. I thought it was actually outside the upright, but the umpire, he's down there close beside it. I would seriously think if there was linesman had anything for him. But James Quinn, he's ready here with his first kick out. James, younger brother of Darren's, who remember was sent off the last day, and he's making his debut for Terrace Pass here in the senior championship here. Athlone on the breaking ball again. Owen Maher pushing forward. They have the possession. Ray Cannellan is on it again. Ray decides to have a go again. Backs himself with the left foot. Takes a shot.
No mistake with that one from Ray Cannellan there. The first one was for Hughes to get that one.
2.5. Looks with the right foot. Curls one in. Well grabbed in there by the full forward there, and an opportunity here for Terrace Pass. The shot comes in, great save by the keeper. Danger not gone yet. Terrace Pass man with the ball goes to ground. Referee, what is he doing? He's allowing the play to go on. A lot of bodies in and around the ball. Terrace Pass have the possession, but eventually it's an Athlone man that comes away from it. It was Ian Davis, the full forward, that had the shot on goal, but Athlone living dangerously early on in this, and the clearance is not the best in the world because Jamie Corcoran, he's giving it off to Ian Davis. Ian gives it on now to Jamie Ganood, and Jamie with the right foot takes a shot off the inside of the upright, and it's the Athlone men that react to it, and the ball comes back in play, and there's again half a chance there. The goalie was caught in no man's land there. I think it was it Evan Connell that got a foot to it, but inside there and turns past through sheer volume and numbers there, turned that possession over, and they're on the move down the far side of the field where Ian Davis comes out in front of his man, feeds in a nice ball in as far as Dean McNicholas. Dean, little ball inside, trying to get Jerry Egan on it. Jerry comes across, gets the fist on it from a very tight angle and taps it over the bar with has a teammate for support there on the ball. Little flick ball inside, inviting a teammate onto it. Again Athlone on the move. Ray Connellan is on the ball now. Ray comes towards the D, comes inside, then goes back outside. Lovely pass back, and the ball's in the back of the net. What a goal! What a fabulous goal!
Absolutely unbelievable there by Noel Mulligan and Ray Connellan. Great interchange, played the whole way down the field.
Hands of Ray Connellan, I think it was, and Athlone are on the move again. Sloppy play here. In fact, this is Ray Connellan on the ball now at this stage, heading towards the 13 metre line. Great speed from the man, and a great save by James Quinn in the goals. Ray Connellan put on the afterburners there and came through with a super. A lot of errors, handling errors on both sides.
Kind of died a little bit, but Thurles Pass are coming more and more into it. If we can get a couple of handy scores here against the Breeze, they'll be happy enough going in at half time, about 4 or 5 minutes to half time.
Yeah, and Dean McNicholas comes forward there and backs himself and fires that one over the bar. Throw the ball up between the two of them. Well, not between the two of them in particular, but certainly between two players from the throw in. It's Athlone to win the possession. They're coming forward again. James Finlas. James, he's the full back, remember. Gives it on here to Shane Allen. Shane is listed at number 5, but Athlone have created a little bit of space here, and James Finlas gives it inside. Chance here of the score for the Athlone men, but it's John Stapleton, I think it was, the man that tried to swing the left foot at it, and he gets it inside the post there. It was up in the air for a long time there. We couldn't even see it from in here in the commentary box, but it drops over the crossbar, and nice score there for Athlone. And I think that indeed, Tom, is the last action of the half here. A nice way for Athlone to finish. Remember, they'll start the second half with that numerical advantage, and it's that man, he's the sub that came on, Dermot Martin. He has the possession. Ray Connellan has the ball now again. Ray holding possession, looks up, great vision, gives a lovely ball inside, and the shot comes in, and that's a fabulous goal. I guess James Finlas, the full back, but he's wearing number 3. He hasn't been in.
But just one note, they still have 14 men, the black card. They need to slow things down, let the clock take on, and get 15 men back on the field.
Bad kick out here from the goalkeeper. There's a chance here now that Jerry Egan is right in on the 13 metre line, trying to get a little bit of space for himself and gets the shot away. And all I will say is, luckily for Athlone, that was only over the bar, but Jerry Egan, the kick out is won here by Dermot Martin. He has Kieran Geraghty all over him here, with the referee allowing the play to go on, and Dermot does very well. Gives the ball on to Kieran Coulter. Kieran shows a clean pair of heels to the Thurles Pass, and they're coming forward with John Stapleton. Gives it on here. Ray Connellan comes inside on the left foot, takes a shot, fires it over the bar. Great response there from Athlone and from Ray Connellan.
Great response there again. I think he fouled the ball, and then he was fouled himself.
Yeah, and from the throwing ball, Athlone had a chance. Yeah, they had a chance on the move there, but a hand in there of Shane Allen eventually gets it over there to Ray Connellan. Ray just slows it right down as he can do, and then puts on the afterburners, trying to get away from the Thurles Pass man. Being held there, he comes inside, shows great strength to hold the possession, but the ball eventually taken away from him. But Athlone looked like again there was a foul on the Thurles Pass man, and the shot comes in, but from an almost impossible angle. What a score! Absolutely. To Nigel Hart. Nigel lifts the head, hops the ball, looking for the runner. The runner is Jerry Egan. Jerry in space. No, in fact it's Dean McNicholas. Dean comes back inside on his left, trying to get a pass away, has closed down, gives it back to Colin. Nice ball in as far as Nigel Hart. Nigel turns it over and sticks it over the bar. Plain and simple. Maybe that's the way Thurles Pass should be playing it.
Coming out from the back, and this is an opportunity for Jerry Egan. You don't want to be giving too many of these.
Yeah, Jerry with the right foot makes no mistake, puts it through, but we'll see what's he going to signal. I think it's going to be a line ball for Athlone. It's driven across, lovely ball. Nice skill there, moved across here, and an opportunity comes for the Athlone man, and the shot comes in there. I think that was Shane. Again, carries it forward with the left foot, drives it in, 1-on-1 inside there is Jerry Egan. Jer has the ball in his hand, he's taking on the Athlone defence, he goes to ground, referee is signaling foul. And a free for Jerry Egan, a free for Terrace Pass. This
A bit more dangerous, and that was a good catch and grab and a good score by Jerry Egan.
Yeah, Reid. Daniel looks up. Puts the ball inside. Well won here by the number 20, Conor Rush. Conor treads a beautiful ball inside, taken on the run here. An opportunity here for the Athlone man, and the point is taken and it's over the bar. It's 4 between them, and the clock says we have 33, almost 34 minutes gone, and in fact, is that the last action of this game? It is indeed, because the referee, Pat Fox, has blown the full-time whistle, and it's victory for Athlone, who keep themselves very much in the play here. It's a full-time score of 1 goal and 11 points there for Athlone, and to Terrace Pass is 10 points.
This was a very different game. This was a little bit more open, I suppose. And again, it's the fall of Terrace Pass that has been most striking this year. I mean, county finalists last year, and they haven't won a game this year, and really not playing all that well. If we're being completely truthful about it, they don't seem to have any sort of game pattern. If it's not Jerry Egan, it must be Jerry Egan.
Yeah.
They don't seem to have any other scoring threat than that. And in my opinion, I thought Athlone were comfortable beating them here last week. It's very hard to say, but I just thought they were comfortable in beating. Terrace Pass put up very little fight. I know they probably hadn't a whole lot to play for as well, Luke, but I just felt that they didn't put up enough of a fight for a team that are struggling.
Yeah, and as you said, they probably changed systems twice now. They started off with that man-on-man everywhere against Gary Castle. They've gone back now to their traditional fighting tactics of being a bit more hard to beat, a bit more organised, a bit more defensive, and then trying to leave Ger up and get Ger on the ball on the forward line, see what Ger can do. And you know, the last day probably was again back to that fighting qualities, making a dog fighting.
I thought that defensively is where the problems lay. I'm not so sure that the problems lay in the forward line. I thought defensively, Athlone had 5 or 6 serious goal chances. I think they did the post twice, if I'm not mistaken, maybe even 3 times. Like, they could have had a hatful of goals. Now I know Terrace Pass missed a couple of chances as well, but I just thought Athlone seemed to penetrate them far, far easier, and it has been a kind of an Achilles heel for Terrace Pass this year. I've seen them against Gary Castle as well, and they were pretty poor that evening as well.
Yeah, I suppose like with Terrace Pass, we're seeing from my first year with Lomans a few years, maybe 5-6 years ago. They were very dangerous, and Jerry Egan was deadly. Like, I mean, God Almighty, when he played well.
Yeah, they also had Dennis Glennon at the time as well, which they don't have at the moment.
Amongst others, like David Glennon as well. You know, but I think in the last few years we've started watching Terrace Pass sort of. What's the word? It's not, deteriorate is not the word you'd use, but they have.
It's in transition, maybe.
Yeah,
they are in a bit of transition. And like a lot of clubs.
Yeah, the fact that they've had so many managers, like, I mean, going in, I don't know, like they nearly have had a manager a year, and when you have a new manager, he has to come in and put his stamp on it. Yeah. And some managers might want to play defensive, and others might want to keep forwards up. So they're in a tough place now. They're going to go down to the second tier.
Yeah. And
it really is important what to do next year, because it's a great football club. Like, I mean, there's such passion about their football in Terrace Pass. And if they can just accept that they're in transition and just say, let's see where we're going with. They have a new player there as well, but I don't think he featured that well. Ian Davis. Yeah. He came over from Meath. So, like, if they just take this year, you can get a run in it. It's a funny championship. It's a great championship, but also if you lose your first couple of matches,
it does put you on the back foot. Yeah.
And you know, they've lost their first couple and they're on the back foot, and you know, then a new manager could say, right, we're after losing the first couple of matches, they're going to try something different, and that backfires. Like, I'm going to try to play a player that mightn't be used to a position in a different position, and that backfires. The next thing, the whole thing, and like, I mean, it was 1-4 to 0-4 there. In that match, they were in fierce hard luck for a goal.
Yeah.
So, you know, you get moments in a championship match that can be turning points.
Yeah.
And they didn't have that bit of luck. Having said that, I thought Athlone definitely played a better football and looked more dangerous. As you said, they could have had several goals. But
I have to say, I've watched Athlone 3 times now, and they're a bit of a Jekyll and Hyde. You know, they were excellent in my opinion on the first day against Gary Castle. Probably should have won the game. Came out with a draw. And we're happy enough with that draw, and this is their first point since they were particularly poor in their other games up until they played Terrace Pass. I actually fancy Terrace Pass to turn them over and kind of get back into the championship a little bit, but they're a very young side now. I would know quite a few of them now. I know Kieran Coakley and I know Jimmy Finnis, the Fish, and Shane Allen. I know quite a lot of those lads. But it was the older lads that stood up. I thought John Stapleton at centre of the field had an absolutely tremendous game for them at the centre of the field. You know, and they will still fancy to make it to a quarter final. I'm not quite sure that they will, but they will still fancy their chances. And once they're in with a shout, they'll definitely go for it.
Like you'll see in some of the clips that they played some lovely football, and over the years they have really underperformed.
Yeah.
Anytime Lomans played them when I was there, you'd be always half terrified. The big Stapleton and Ray Connellan and John Connellan, but they always
John Egan even at that stage.
Yeah, John Egan. Plus. But they never seem to have a good system. Now Lee McHale has come in with Fergal Murray and against Gary Castle, good system of play. Against Terrace Pass, they were very tenacious. And if you take Lee McHale, he's been around the block. He's in Athlone now. He's going to have to show that there's something in Athlone, that he's staying there for a couple of years.
Yeah.
And I thought Ray Connell and Noel Mulligan looked very, very dangerous, along with those young lads you just alluded to. So you'll just see there in a couple of clips now how impressive. And they have
Darren Costello on goals, which I think is another plus point for them. I thought his kickouts, I don't know what the stats were like, Tom.
Yeah, his kickouts at the weekend were 12 out of 17 for his kickouts again, and he was going mostly long with some of his, which is a huge addition to get that off. And
there's the goal. We're just looking at the goal from Noel Mulligan. I think it was the turning point of the game. I thought, if I'm honest, I thought Turtles had pass heads went down as soon as that goal went in.
Yeah, and also a point I must have mentioned, it was an excellent goal.
Yes,
like the vision of Ray to find Noel. It was a bit like the Tyrone goal.
It was just off the shoulder and it came at such huge pace. Like, in fairness to the Terrace Pass defence in that scenario, they had absolutely no chance. Yeah,
and like you see, Ray Connellan.
But that young Finless scored a point there. It came up from fullback and he had the freedom. He was a Parker. And it's breaking young Coakley there. He has amazing pace, and I think he's a better footballer even than he's shown. But the one thing I would worry about at Athlone is the very little of a bench. They took off 2 substitutes on Sunday night. They brought both of them back on.
That's right.
Because they hadn't a whole lot else to bring off the bench. It is a worry for them if they're going to progress in this championship, I think. But at the same time, they're back in it now. After a couple of bad days, they're back in it now.
Well, it's the most interesting match in the next round is Lomans versus Athlone.
Well, it's probably do or die.
Yeah,
it's probably do or die. The loser is going down to the next group of the senior championship. Like, even if Athlone win it, they're in a quarter final. Simple as.
That's right. And Lomans.
I think Lomans can still stay up because they have 4 points, and if Gary Castle were beaten, Lomans would still make a quarter final.
Yeah.
So it will all depend on the Gary Castle front on the last.
The thing I like about Lomans is that they have a very strong panel this year. They've a lot of players back from a couple of years ago. They're a very steady panel and they're coming good at the right time. So Lomans were always able for Athlone. So I think their strength of the panel that you reference and the fact that their defence won't be as porous as Terrace Passes were.
And Lomans, of course, won their game at the weekend by a single point against Gary Castle. Were well in front, I think, just before half time, and Sean Flanagan, I think, got a red card at that stage then.
Yeah.
Which will be a little bit of a worry to them. An injury to Shane Dempsey as well. We're not quite sure what that is. We're not quite sure whether John Heslin and what sort of part he's going to play in the championship as well. But the difference, I think, is that Lomans actually have a bench. They have players that they can introduce that probably will work seamlessly into that team.
A couple of new players that came into the club from the time I was there. Ryan Jones, a fine footballer.
I haven't really seen him this year at all.
Yeah, well, you will. They'll come.
I think he came on against Gary Castle last day.
They're timing their run, and also Peter Foyden, ex Longford, who I had down in Longford in the mid 2000s as an excellent player. As you said, their bench is good, and they're bringing through new players as well, like Oisin Hogan is playing, and Jack Gagan, and they have a good base of county players there with Jason and Goes, good kickouts, Fola, who came on great with the county, Sam, who was getting better, you know, and then throw in the knacky forwards like TJ, John Heston. I just think they will have, and if Shane is okay, I know he had hamstring injury from a few weeks back, but Ken Casey is still knocking around. Bill O'Whelan, another addition that came over from
Ronan O'Toole, haven't mentioned
and
yet.
then Ronan, no. And I have a great time.
But Ronan really hasn't played up to. I know he himself. He'll know himself. He hasn't played up to the standard that he's played. We'll say previous years to this, or even as he's played for Westmeath.
Yeah,
he because he's a marked man. Luke, every time he goes out,
yeah.
I seen him against Kinnegad. I seen him against the Downs. He was a completely marked man. If you're trying to shut down St. Lomans, most of these teams are trying to shut down Ronan O'Toole. They're trying to stop the ball getting into the likes of John Heston, or getting into the likes of TJ Cox, or Peter Fife for that matter. And Lomans seriously struggled. The worst performance I've seen for them in a long time. They played Kinnegad out in the Downs in the third round of the championship, and like they were beaten out the gate. You know, I was a little bit worried about them on that scenario, but as we've said, the championship is not won in mid-June or mid-July or even August. It's won when it comes down to the nitty-gritty, and they have that knack. You know, when it comes down to knockout football, they have that knack. They know what it takes to win. It's whether the other teams now can step up that level and brush past them. Yeah. And
but
that is the amazing. You've just
said it. Like, I mean, if you take it, I was there for 5 years, and there was 5 county finals. Declan Rowley then before that, and now 2 more. You just said it. Like, they know the likes of Kelvin Riley, Paddy Dowdle, fantastic clubmen. You know. Yeah. And then even off the junior team, we have Jerry Graham, who's back from America. Like, I'd be throwing him back into. He's a very experienced player. Along with Conrad Riley, they're still well. If they were to come in, he's only playing with their junior team. But I mean, the point I'm making is now the championship starts, and the big match for Lomans to get by is this Athlone match, because you take it Athlone with Liam McHale, Fergal Murray, the passionate, they haven't been performing in years. That this is they look and this is their big chance. And they were very tenacious against Herald's Pass. So for me, this is the match of the championship. Yeah, well,
of course, it's going to decide which of them goes through.
Yeah, the match of the championship weekend.
Absolutely, it's well. Look at, we've had some tremendous games in that section A. Section B is an absolute minefield at the moment, and I'm as a Shamrocks man myself, as everybody knows, it's hard for me, but. I see the footage from the game at the weekend, and they were a well-beaten Docket against a very, very good Colliery side who absolutely outplayed them. And now the spectre is the spectre of relegation for Shamrocks after winning 2 games in it. The other scenario is, of course, as well, that it could be even in a playoff, and of course they're playing a local derby against Shandona, and whichever of them lose are in that spectre of. Going down to an intermediate level.
Yeah, but I can't see Shamrocks losing to Shandona. I saw Shandona playing against Caloocan, and I thought some of their defending was very naive. I think Shamrocks have experienced players throughout the field. I think maybe they've underestimated Colliery, who have an excellent coach down there, and Owen Mooney, we were just talking about him. Like, Shane Curran was very... Well, Shane Curran, he was clever to bring in a very good coach, because I know about Owen Mooney, like, he's highly rated, and they would love him in Colliery. And I saw them winning the Intermediate Championship a couple of years ago, and they did some very impressive players.
Colin McCormack,
yeah, he was excellent.
They've lost young Robbie Hickey, I suppose. That was the major loss on the opening day of the championship here, and they were abjectly poor here that day on the opening day of the championship against Shandona, who absolutely ran over them. Yeah. But that Shandona team have not turned up since. No. Like, I seen them on Friday night in St. Lomans against Caloocan. And Caloocan were 4-4 to 2 points up at the first water break. Devon Hill had scored a hat-trick in the first 15 minutes. And to be honest, they could have scored 2 or 3 more. Yeah. And they took the foot off the pedal, and yet they won handsomely. Like, I mean, this wasn't close. This wasn't even a contest. and Shindona looked completely out of their depth. If I'm being totally honest, I thought that their half back line never rose a gallop. Their full back line was completely overcrowded. They were lucky to finish with 15 men, as it turned out as well. It's an intriguing contest. It'll always lift theirs. Like if they're playing Shamrocks, that's going to lift their game and lift it considerably.
Yeah.
Let's be honest about that as well.
Yeah, but
it's who deals with that the better. I think it's
Exactly.
going to come out of that game.
Well, if you're asking my opinion, I think Mullingar Shamrocks will. I mean, they've got Jack Sheedy in as an experienced campaigner, and I'm sure there's a big game after Collery left.
It's their inconsistency, Luke, I suppose,
Yeah.
that we're most worried about. Like, we've seen them against Killucan here. Well, I seen them against Killucan here, and I thought they were tremendous that day. Won by 4 points, maybe a little bit controversially, but I still thought on the day they were the better side.
Yeah.
Like, they beat Rosemount out the gate on the opening day of the championship, and even kicked 17 wides on the same night.
That's
so
right.
It's the almost bipolar personality that they have. They seem to.
That was
lift their game.
the amazing result was Rosemount. I think they sort of shocked themselves that particular evening.
The Shamrocks did,
Yeah.
they were very
But-
fearful of them now.
Yeah, but like you get Dennis Croon. I think you talk about, go back just before we talk about Dennis Croon et al. They're a team in transition as well.
Very much so,
You know, from a few
they're
years
very
ago,
much so,
they've lost. I mean, and they've some great stalwarts. You see Donald O'Donoghue who's still coming on, but Donald
Mick
is,
Curley, yeah.
and Mihal, like an excellent centre half back. You
Yeah.
know, and when push comes to shove, they will come to the fore in a crunch match like this, and you know they might get into the playoffs depending on the other results.
It'll depend on other results, of course, as
Yeah.
well. The interesting game is the two teams at the top of the table are Collery and Moat, who play each other on the last
That's
day,
right.
in the last game of it. Now, I watched Moat and Rosemount here on Sunday.
Tom and no shot on goal in any sort of anger yet.
Yeah, most of the players hand passing around the middle of the field there. The problem for Moat is when they do get the ball up the field, they've only one target inside. That's Robbie Ford, and he's been well marked by two players at the moment.
Yeah, Rosemount are coming on the attack here. Boydu is trying to get in here. He needs to get over onto his left foot, but he's been held well by Andrew Gorm, but he eventually does come in, and with that we have the opening score. And it's come to the men from Rosemount. Boydu, better known as a cornerback, I suppose it's fair to say. Here today, it's only the one only score so far has come to Rosemount. 1 point to Rosemount. Moat yet to register. Rosemount are coming forward again. It's Plunkett Maxwell. Plunkett trying to duck in under the tackle there, but does well. He's got away from the Moat cornerback. They're coming inside, and the shot comes in, and it's a great save there by Richie Price there. It's going to be taken by Theo Watts. Theo with the right foot. Kicks it in, it's dropping right into the sun, and there's some great fetch in there, and the shot comes in. That was Declan Mullen, the number 11. They got the shot away. It was just Route 1 football there. 40 minutes gone in the opening half. Moat yet to register score as Ben Cox stands over this one, and he comes forward, kicks it high, it's curling in, they're looking at it, is it on target? I think it is. Lovely score there by Ben Cox. And certainly Rosemount trying to inject a little bit of pace into it. Conor Sheridan fires it down, nice ball to Rory Cunningham. Rory has a little bit of support over there, needs to give the pass inside, but retains it, and then lifts his head up and fires the ball inside. Nice ball in front of Robbie Ford. Robbie fouled there by Andy McCormick there. He can't afford to commit another foul, or he's on the sideline.
Yeah, a small bit harsh of a yellow card.
Robbie Ford gets the opening score with it. Holds the possession, turns around, gives it back again to Conor Sheridan. Conor goes centre, inviting Paul Gorman to come onto the ball. Paul turns around, a fisted pass out to Ronan Conway. Ronan does well, gets a nice ball in over the top. An opportunity here for the Moat man, and that shot comes in there. I think it was James Bracken, the number 12, the man that fired it over the bar. That space there is Ben Cox. Ben gives a pass back outside, and the full back is down there. Porrick Nestor. Porrick gives it on to Declan Mullen. Declan got one score already. Backs himself again. Takes a shot. Great save in the goals there by Richie Price. Kick back about 30 metres back as far as Plunkett Maxwell. Plunkett Bill changes the direction of it, gives it on to Theo Watts. Theo back at the Plunkett, thought about giving the return pass, throws a dummy, he's inside heading for the D. Chance here for Theo Watts as well. Theo on the left foot gets the shot away, the umpire looks up and the umpire gives a signal that's over the bar. Nice score there by Theo, with the referee signal that he hopped it twice there. He was being closed on by Gavin Murray and the free given, and Gavin has taken the free quickly because he sees that Robbie Ford is 1-on-1 inside on the 20-metre line, comes left and goes back on his right, takes the shot. A lovely score there from Robbie Ford.
Yeah, the big difference there is the key.
Yeah, Boydu has it here now for Rosemount, and with the left foot spreads a nice ball inside here. It's won well by Ben Cox. Ben takes on his man, he's on the 13-metre line, fists the ball inside, picked up again beautifully by Shawnee Pettit. Shawnee has a look, and like you said, Tom, but Moore quite content just to hold that possession. Fiacre Cunningham goes around that's D.D. McCormick, gives a fisted pass inside and a nice ball inside here, and Moore have an overlap here. There's a chance here. Oh, the shot came in. I think that was Fiacre Cunningham all the way up from the left half back. The free is taken, Sean. That is indeed the last action of the half here as Boydu had the ball.
Yeah, I think the moment we're looking for a hot ball if the two of them were after being given a yellow card there, but 6-all at half time.
Into Fiacre Cunningham. Fiacre back now as far as Robbie Gorman. Robbie gives the ball inside. There's a chance for Robbie Ford. He's got around his man. He throws a dummy, trying to get a little bit of space. Comes forward, takes a shot. Oh! For the second time, the Mortman have hit the upright on the outside of the post. There's the ball. Nice ball in as far as Robbie Gorman. Robbie wearing 6 but playing it at the 11. Gives it into Robbie Ford. Robbie lays the ball off. Nice play here by the Mortman. Fisted ball inside. The man that won the free a couple of minutes ago gives it back in here. There's a great chance for the Mortman. And good heads up playing the ball. Fisted over the bar. Lovely score there. It's brilliant. Came out on the left foot. Switches it back inside. Rosemount just trying to probe around and trying to get a little bit of an opening there, and the ball given inside now for David McCormick. David has a little bit of a chance to head in on the Moore goal. Goes inside, gives the ball back as far as the number 13 there, Ben Cox. And you said it earlier, they need to get that man on the ball more because Ben is.
This game isn't over.
Paul Sheridan wearing the number 18 has just been introduced for the Moore Hall Whites there as the kick out is taken quickly there. It's the number 12 James Bracken, the man that's gone off, but the ball has gone in and it's well grabbed in there by Robbie Ford. Robbie calls for the mark, and as he goes to the ground there, and he does very well to win it, and that's Ford hit the ground and called the mark, and he kicks it with the right foot, curls it in, and the signal is the same again. That's 9 now for the number 14. 4 more around it here. It's going to be hard for anyone to get clean possession out of this, but we'll see what he's trying to isolate 2 players, and he does throw it in, and the ball goes to ground, but it's eventually picked up there by Ben Cox, or in fact it's Ben that has it now, and Ben has a shot with the right foot, drops it in and drops it over the bar. 3 on the day for Ben Cox. He did very seconds gone. Rory Cunningham takes a shot to Conor Sheridan. Conor trips himself and gives the ball back to Rory Cunningham. Rory gives the ball inside and Philip King is on it. Philip coming forward, looking around him, backs himself, takes a shot, but a super save by Owen Carberry there. Got down low, got a left hand on it and got possession. Give it back now. David McCormick, he has it. David turns, has a look at the Moore post, gives it on now to Enda Boland. Enda fisted over there to Theo Watts. Theo comes inside, fisted ball inside, but it's all very pedestrian for the Rosemount Bennett. Shawnee Pettit has a shot with the outside of the right, but the left foot, and it fires it over the bar. They have to build from right deep inside their own end of the field. They have it over on the far side of the field. A little bit of injection of pace here now as they're trying to get in. They need to get goals now at this stage. The clock not in their favour, but they're coming forward. They're still carrying it forward. Again, good tackle by the Moore backs there, and the referee signals will have no more because he is called for the long whistle and the final scoreline. A great victory for the men from Moore All Whites on the final scoreline of 15 points to Rosemount's 10. And
Sunday afternoon, and Moore were excellent, I have to say. Like the scoreline doesn't do them any favours. With all due respect to Rosemount, I thought they were very poor on the day. Like 10 points. I'm not sure what the stats were, Tom, but
yeah, Moat had 5 points from play, but a lot of them did 5 points from play. Sorry, did 10 frees, but a lot of them frees were
marks, I think.
and last ditch
Robbie
tackles
Ford,
and stuff like that. Like Robbie had a huge influence in that game. To be fair.
I thought, like, I'd love to see the possession stats on that game. I'd say it was 70-30 because Moat owned the ball for large parts of it. I mean, they owned the ball.
Yeah.
They play an awful lot of football and they play an awful lot of possession football, but they're not extremely penetrative, if you know what I mean. Robbie Ford is in at full forward. John Corbally hasn't been seen for them, as far as I can remember, for any of the 2 games that I've seen him in. He hasn't been seen for him. He's a major loss. Billy Berry was only a sub, came on and scored 2 points, maybe made a statement to John Waddle. But it was how bad Rosemount were that struck me the most.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, they could be in serious trouble. They're on the bottom of the table along with Shandona. And if Killucan can beat them, they're gone. Like, it makes no difference what happens, I think, in the other games. It could be Shandona as well. But they're in major trouble as well. And Killucan, of course, coming on the back of that fine win against Shandona. You know, I think it's so intriguing. I think the Colliery Moat All White games, I have an awful feeling, if it was a betting man and if it was given 20 quid in the morning, I would have it that's going to be a draw, because it would qualify both of them for that. Now, I know there's an awful lot of parish rivalry there, and we talk about Shamrocks and Lomans and Mullingar, or, you know, some of the major rivalries, Gary Castle and Athlone. Moat and Colliery are not the best of pals, shall we say. I think that's been even nice to it. And they will not want to. They would love to see one beat the other. Yeah. Like, more people would love to beat Colliery, and Colliery people would certainly love to beat Moat, and you know, take that little bit of.
I just think you know, Moat are really playing well, considering, you know, they're just not long in the senior ranks.
Yeah,
Colliery,
they probably were a senior team.
Yeah,
in all but name, Luke. In fairness to them, like, and as many of the intermediate teams will attest.
And you know, the funny thing is, in lots of counties, the intermediate championship is probably the hardest championship to win.
Well, it's not in lots of counties. It's in this county as well. It's
well, you should go to Kildare as well. Like, I mean, it's the same in most counties.
Yeah.
Because of that prize to become a senior team, I still think Colliery will beat Moat. I think Shamrocks will beat Shandona, and then
that's a big call. That's where you heard it first, folks. Came from the mouth of Luke Dempsey. It didn't come from my mouth.
You'll have 2 good teams then taking on 3rd and 4th from the top group.
You could have an all Mullingar quarter final.
That's the way I'd be sort of thinking myself.
A little bit of redemption maybe for St. Lomans, but look, that's still all to play for.
Yeah.
We have a couple of highlights from the Shandona Killucan game from Friday night in St. Lomans, and the one thing I will say about it, I happened to be there on Friday night myself. I think it's a huge innovation, and I think there should be more games played under lights on Friday nights, even if it was a double header. I thought the atmosphere was tremendous.
Definitely.
I thought the crowd loved it. I thought there was some great football played. It was so enjoyable to be there. It wasn't a particularly cold evening. I suppose on a cold evening it might make a bit of a difference. But just going forward, I would suggest that maybe more Friday night games. And the fact that it's the weekend, I think we could make a spectacle of it. I wouldn't even mind a game starting at 9 o'clock. I don't think the players would even mind a game starting at 9 o'clock.
Well, 9 is a bit late now, Paul, and considering that some of those
some of
those young players are very young, and
it's not the late. It's not the late.
But definitely no. Your point is right. Friday night matches and playing in facilities like St. Lomans, brilliant lights. Players love it.
These are just the highlights of the game. Some of these were.
Some of these clips now, just with these, I thought it was very impressive how Killucan set up. You could hear Stephen every time they turned him over, forward, go.
Yeah, and in Devon Hill they have an absolute clinical finisher. I've seen finishers in my time, and I think he's as good as I've seen. I expect to see him in the Maroon of Westmeath next year, at least in a panel, definitely. But they cut through, and invariably they took the right option. That's what I liked about Killucan last week.
Yeah.
Invariably they took the right option. When there was a score available, they took it.
Yeah, but some very good footballers, like lots of them are past pupils in Rocha Bridge. And if you take the team that won the Leinster colleges, and I've no doubt that had gone on to an All-Ireland series, would have won the All-Ireland colleges, because you can see it. Like I was 40 years in the school trying to win such a match, but it's when a group of players come together, and it's logic. You know, if you've a strong panel, you'll win once you set them upright.
Yeah.
And if you look at the Kinnegad improvement, they're nearly half the team at least is from that school team. And Devon Hill was got 2 outstanding goals in that campaign, and since then he's got outstanding goals against Offaly under-20s, against, you see him there,
Longford,
and against Longford, and then you've Owen Keys as well. Owen was midfield.
Really good player.
He was midfield on the school team.
Yeah, really good player.
You know, and then
Very
you
impressive.
dip into Offaly and you've Aaron Caelan playing very well for Road. It just shows you just how outstanding a group they were. And Kaloocan are with the Grevels, with Cormac Boyle.
Cormac Boyle was outstanding the other night. He played a wing half back. And
all very good
absolutely
footballers.
terrible, yeah.
You know, so...
It was the blitz that they hit Shandona with. Shandona really weren't expecting the game plan that Steve... And huge credit it has to be given to Stephen Morley. He had a game plan. He stuck to it.
They kept great depth in that forward line as well.
There was incredible. Like there was no kind of cluster defence or blanket defence with them at all. Once they were moving forward, they were moving forward in 6s and 7s. Like you had a guy off the shoulder. Now they ran out of steam, I suppose, towards the end of the game, which is not surprising with the level of intensity that they brought to it.
Plus,
but they're super fit. I mean, I thought they were super fit. I thought the 2 Doyles, more renowned as hurlers, but I thought both of them were excellent on the night. Like Killian was named at 6. I'd say if he spent 30 seconds in the number 6 position, I'd say it was the height of it. He spent very little time. And when you have Frank Boyle at full back, you know, you have a solid full back there. Davy Bryan behind him. Like that's a solid one. I expect them to go ahead. I expect them to win their last game, if I'm honest. I expect them to beat Roseman. I expect them to beat them quite comfortably, if I'm honest. I just was so disappointed. If I was the most disappointed for me at the weekend were Roseman. I thought they just gave up a little bit. The Shamrocks result was a terrible result for Shamrocks, but we have to pay credit to Collery, who were outstanding. And even I was talking to some of the Shamrocks boys, and they were extremely impressed with them. So they would be happy with that. So the games, of course, for the next day are going to make a huge difference to that as to who goes up and who goes down. We're going to move on to the Intermediate Championship now, and as we said, the most impressive result, I suppose, at the weekend was Malachy's being beaten the top of the table and well beaten by Castledaly, only down from senior last year, 2-15 to 14 points, and I believe they were well worth that win, Luke.
Yeah, like, I mean, it's good to see Castledaly, some teams when they go down, they can go down even further. But they really have got their act together, and Enda Sheridan has done great work to stabilise and to put in the performances that we've seen, especially that one there last weekend. And when you see the way Larkin Dolan played for the county, I mean, he's a lad that has been resurrected as well. So I think they're into the semi-finals with a great chance.
They look like it, yeah. Yeah, there's 3 teams on 6 points currently. You have Malachy's, you have Castledaly, and you have Tang. And you have Milton Pass on 4, with Maryland on 2, and Ballymore, I'm afraid, are in a bit of free fall. They're after getting a couple of serious troubles. I know they're under serious amount of injuries at the moment, and they play Castledaly in the last game. You would have to say Castledaly are going to win that, which would probably make them top of the table, and that's straight to a semi-final for them. I think the other team that will make the semi-final, in my opinion, are probably Tang, maybe. Malachy's have the tougher game, I suppose, against Milton Pass, and that'll ask them, because Milton Pass will want to get something out of it to solidify their quarter-final place. Maryland and Tang, local derby, they're fiery local derbies. I mean, Colliery and Moat, you're talking about Colliery and Moat, Tang and Maryland.
Yeah.
You know, you'd nearly want a SWAT team, I suppose, there at times with some of those in it. But
I think it's a great championship as well, with even teams. Like Milton Pass have Finbar Coinback playing well, which is he's a huge asset. Louis Ennis gone in there now, and they're playing well. They're good footballers. A lot of them are past pupils as well.
It's a lot of transition. Kevin Burke was with them last year and the year before, and I suppose county final 2 years ago. They haven't really progressed since that, though, and even with Brandon Kelly, I know he's been injured, but
but Brandon is back now.
Yeah,
and they have Evan Gorman, who was always a really classy young player, but now he's gone a couple of years older, and playing really well.
Liam Gorman as well,
and Liam, who's Joe's son. Nobody
will want him in a quarter final, Luke.
I would think they're going to get there. I think the Malachy's versus Middleton Pass is a hard match to call.
Yeah.
I would just give a nod to Middleton Pass, given that they really need to win it.
Yeah.
I think Castledaly, we've just said, and Tang in Maryland, as you said, a local derby, but Tang are just playing that bit better at the moment, and they've always been knocking on the door.
They're missing John Tumblety. He's a major loss for them.
He is. But if they just keep their composure, for want of a better term, you'd always worry about Tang's composure.
Yeah, semi-finals or quarter-finals.
Yeah. If they can just keep that and keep playing football.
But it's a very tight championship, Luke, and there's some. I've seen a couple of games in it now. It's some really, really interesting games in it.
Yeah,
and they all play a nice brand of football. There's none of this blanket defence with any of these teams. They play a free flowing style of football. I seen the highlights from the Tang Malachy's game. 5 goals from Malachy's. Tang could have had equally as many goals. It was end to end kind of stuff, and caution to the wind type. Probably not what you want to see, I suppose, as a manager, but at the same time, it's nice to watch.
But
I think the same as you. I think those 4 teams will finish up at that group.
But going back to something we talked about earlier, like some of the matches you said were sort of poor enough quality. Sometimes it's poor enough quality because the forwards are poor enough quality.
Yeah,
they're not able to get out. But in some of the forwards and some of the players in the intermediate championship are very good quality.
But you look at the scorelines from it as well.
Yeah,
there's some whoppers of scorelines in it. Like,
you could go through.
If you're looking at 4 there, we're looking at Malachy's with 73 scores, 73 point scores. Castledaly 66, Tang 69, and Milton Pass 67. Like, that's a serious amount of scores after 4 games.
Oh yeah,
for any team.
Yeah, they're all good teams. And you have lots of the senior teams that love to have Brandon Kelly or Evan Gorman or Lorcan Dolan, Niall O'Brien. There's good quality players in the intermediate championship. It's going to be a hard-won championship, as it is every year.
From Tang, I suppose, as well. Another really quality forward, in my opinion. Always has been.
So
I think they're the 4 teams. I think they're the 4 teams that'll come out of that. We're on now to the Section B. I think this one is done and dusted. I think St Mary's Orchard, and I've said this on a couple of the programmes we've had, I think they're the best intermediate team I've seen, personally, that I've seen. I've been very, very impressed with them. They just seem to know how to knock out a result. Peter Tormey at the helm, they seem to have a system, not the biggest side in the world, they're actually quite small physically, but they have some absolutely terrier of runners, like Ken Rizal, the Cullies. They'll just run all day and all night for you. Sam Plant playing at wing back.
That's right.
Just tremendous pace and, will to win.
Yeah.
And that's why I think any team that would be getting them in a quarter final, I really wouldn't fancy playing St Mary's at the moment, because I think they'll top that group.
Oh, I really would hope that St Mary's will continue their good form. Like Alan Gavin is in there with Peter Tormey, and both lads would be very passionate. And then throw in Damien Gavin, who'd give a dig out as well. He's in with the ladies, and they're doing extremely well. And all past pupils, like you wouldn't get better lads than the Cullies, and then throw in Kenny Russell, who again was on another school player, cornerback on the school team.
He has been exceptional. I called him the Energizer Bunny. I didn't mean that disrespectfully to Ken at all.
Yeah.
I just think he took a ball I watched him against Multi, and he took a ball at his own 14-yard line, and nobody laid a finger on him till he got to the opposition 21. And the reason nobody laid a finger on him was because there was no one within 5 yards of him. He just had a burst of pace, and for a small guy, he's a hardy little bit of stuff as well. And I think somebody told me he dislocated his elbow or something early on in the championship. This guy is walking around with a dislocated elbow, and he's just exceptional. He's a pleasure to watch. And being a small man myself, I love to see small guys.
Oh no, he's a great fella.
I think he's super.
He wasn't bad.
And he's not the only one. There's a couple of really decent players in that Ratchabridge side now.
Oh yeah, I know them all. Like, he wasn't a bad maths student either. Ken, I haven't said that if he hears me saying that.
He'd be delighted to hear that.
But no,
the only maths he's interested in is the one on Sunday week when they're top of the table
watching
and
the scoreboard.
The final.
But please God, they will, because like that, it'd be interesting to see how much they progress, because they're really, this is an upward curve for St Mary's from the last couple of years, and that's great to see, because they're a very young squad, and it's good to see Colin Gavin still involved. He came on and Paul Carey, like the lads have been there for years, and And I just can't think of too many more off the top of my head. But love to see them getting through and then see how they progress by playing one of the teams from the other side.
Yeah.
You know, and in that there, Tubberclare, Ballinaccarrigy, that's a tough one to call.
Yeah, Milton are the team, I suppose. I was here on Saturday afternoon. It was absolutely wonderful. Best game of the championship by far, ladies and gentlemen, for anyone that was able to see it. It was an incredible game of football between Ballinaccarrigy and Milltown. You're talking about local passion, local pride, but you're also talking about some fabulous football. Absolutely, it was tremendous stuff. Dara Hines, Luke Price came on as a sub. Owen Burke, I think, scored 1-5 or 1-6 for Ballinaccarrigy. They got a couple of goals. Milton went back down the field. Ja Boyce went up for a ball around the square and knocks it into an empty net and brought them right back into it. It was absolutely everything you'd want to see in a local derby. It's everything you'd want to see in a game of football in general. I thought it was tremendous and great credit is due to them. Unfortunately, the loss is no good to Ballinaccarrigy, because that puts them out of the system and they're gone as such out of that. So I think it looks like out of that, Milton play Marys in the last game, but I think it's probably going to be the two of them that are going up anyway, Luke. I think Tubberclare can catch them, but I think on the head-to-head, I think Milton have the better head-to-head, haven't they?
Yeah, I think so.
And I think they're probably the better scoring difference. So Tubberclare play Ballinaccarrigy in the last game. So in actual fact, Milltown's neighbours could do them a favour.
Milton and Clare actually have the same scoring difference, but Milton had one day
on the head-to-head, yeah.
Bet them there the last round of fixtures.
So it that looks clear cut. The interesting game in this one is Kilbeggan and Multifarnham for relegation.
Right. That's right, correct and right.
I know Marie Lina won't like to see that Kilbeggan are in such dire straits, but Multi are no better, Luke, and I've seen them on a couple of occasions this season. Mickey Dillon is with them, and they were pretty poor against what I seen against Rocher Bridge. Dominated the first quarter, died out in the rest of the game. I believe they were the very same against Tubberclare. Started off like a train, faded away badly towards the end of the game. You know, for the amount of quality players that they have, I think they'll be very, very disappointed.
I remember going
season.
down to watch St. Loman's second team a few years ago, maybe 3-4 years ago, playing Multi, and I thought, God almighty, this is very strong. They only had come out of the junior All-Ireland, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And I thought this is a team that definitely will make progress. But they lose to Kilbeggan.
They're gone.
They're gone back to junior.
Yeah.
And they'll have to start the whole thing again.
Yeah.
So they've undoubtedly...
I think with the calibre of player that they have, I think they've probably been the most disappointing one in it.
That's my point, Paul. I agree totally with you. From the team, the panel I saw that day.
Yeah, and even the panel I've seen so far as well. And it's a pity to see both clubs, you know, stalwarts of the Westmeath game for a long, long time. But we're going to go on to the Junior Championship now. And the Junior Championship Section A, or Section B, I beg your pardon, this is for the purely junior clubs. The results from last week, a whopping win for Finney against Ballinagore. I think Ballinagore have been one of the very, very disappointed teams of the season. Brumbrosna back to winning ways. Very good win against Joseph's. I actually tipped Joseph's, I think, here on the last programme, so that'll tell you. But I know, don't put any money on mine. And the big result, I suppose, and Jerry Farley was at pains to remind me of this last week in Cusick Park, was Ballycomoyle with a tremendous win against St. Paul's, which puts them back into the frame, I suppose, for a playoff position as well. I don't think there's any doubt that Brumbrosna are going to be in the playoff. I think Finney will probably join them. It's a bit of a mishmash then after that as to who makes it. Probably Joseph's, I suppose. Nobody playing anyway as well. I think Brumbrosna are the standout team in this.
Brumbrosna's standout team at the moment. What they've unbeaten so far, 1-3, drew 1.
And probably should have won the one that they lost. But Jerry Farley tells me that Ballycomoyle are coming with a late run and that they're the team to watch for the championship this year. So Jerry, if you're watching, I'll take you at your word. They have it's a top of the table clash the next day with Finney and Brumbrosna. Paul's are playing Ballinagore, and it's Joseph and Ballycomoyle, which is probably going to be a playoff position.
Yeah.
So a lot to play for at the moment. The other junior football is, I think it's fairly straightforward at this stage. It's the senior clubs. It's the second strings of the senior clubs. Lomans are ahead at the moment themselves, and the Downs are on same points. And Lomas plays Shamrocks in the last game. That's certainly going to be a win for Lomas because Shamrocks are going to struggle to field at that stage. They have used an awful lot of players, and they probably are. And Lomas are fairly strong. This group, this junior group for Lomas, are a really decent side. The Downs are not too bad either now, and I expect both of those to be well in the shake-up come the quarter-final stage. Garrycastle, of course, are still in with a chance there. They have a local derby against Athlone on the last day, and it's Kinnegad and the Downs. So the Downs, I think, will beat Kinnegad. Kinnegad are bottom of the table at the moment. Athlone are struggling as well. A lot of the second string teams are actually struggling to field.
Yeah,
Opposed to it. But the Downs and Lomans, in fairness, they have a glut of players at the moment, and they're by far, in my opinion, the strongest clubs in it.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. And like from the time I went to St. Lomans a few years ago to now, they have so many more senior players. Like, I mean, I remember my first year, your Division 3 team, half of them were their Division 1 team.
Yeah.
Whereas now they have a very strong junior team. I suppose what I don't like, a little bit of an annoyance for me, is I think the junior championship should be just for junior clubs.
You've heard it from Luke Dempsey, you've heard it from me. Thomas Mount is in agreement as well. We're all in agreement. A junior championship should be for junior clubs.
Because I know say Bunbrosna, I know the effort that, out there, fantastic grounds. It's great to see them, they still have the Peter.
They put so much heart and soul into it, as much as any senior team, Luke, is.
Of course.
And the problem I have is, and I've seen it with my own club, we won a junior title. On the morning after we won the junior title, what did that junior cup mean? It meant very little. And we've also seen the opposite end when Multi win a county junior title. The lift it gives, not just to the team, but to the club, to the community, to the entire population of that area. It was a huge fillip for Multi to win a junior championship. And I think a junior championship is what it is. It's a junior championship. If you want the other clubs to take part in it, have a junior B, have a senior B, have anything you like. I don't care.
I know this has probably been trashed
meetings
over and over again, and logic prevails for whatever reasons. But Paul has just mentioned the reasoning behind my grievance would be that, say, the likes of Bunbrosna, and they really are your typical junior team now. You've got players coming to the end of their careers, really enjoying their football in their mid to late 30s. There's even a teacher friend of mine, Chris Cole, who's playing with Bunbrosna now. And if they were to go and win a championship, it means the same as Garrycastle or Lomans winning the senior championship. It means
as much to them.
Whereas the senior clubs who have strong panels are putting out their minors, their under 20s.
Yeah, it's a progression, and don't get me wrong, those lads have to play football. They have to be allowed
and I see in Kildare, but I see in Kildare they have a very, very strong senior B.
Yeah,
and they have their own specific junior championship, and it is taken deadly serious. So it might be just something that can be looked at, because I'm just making that point, Paul, because I think the Downs and St. Lomans junior teams, one of those will probably win this championship.
Yeah, I'm not going to disagree with you. I would hope that that's not going to be the case, but I think it might be.
That's my point.
I think it might be, yeah. And I think for all the work that a lot of these clubs do, I've seen it with Bunbrosna, I've seen it with Multi. I thought that when they won the championship, the way they held themselves, what it meant to them, what it meant to their community, it was tremendous. It was a tremendous thing to do. I think it would mean the same for Bunbrosna. I can imagine in the case of Jerry Varley, if Ballycamoyle won it, I'd say Jerry wouldn't be seen for a month maybe.
I know, but you could imagine the work that's been done in Ballycamoyle.
Yeah, and they're taking every bit as seriously as the guys that are training in St. Lomans or in Athlone or Mullingar or wherever it is. Like, they take it every bit as seriously, and it means as much to them as it does.
It's like when I was involved with Division 4 counties. Like, I mean, the preparation and
doesn't make any difference.
Absolutely, and that's the great thing about the fact that it is streamed. That if it's junior, it should be just for the junior clubs. So that's the point.
So that's our football for the weekend looked at, and we've looked forward to the next set of again. This weekend we have hurling. It's down to quarter-final stages, I think, in the intermediate. The Senior B has a couple of games to play. It's the last round, of course, of the Senior Hurling Championship, and I suppose the big game, and it's live on Airvie TV on Saturday evening at 5 o'clock, is Loughlane Gales and Castletown. On Sunday evening here we have Clonkill and Castlepollard. This is probably going to decide who's going to the semi-finals, Tom, and who is
100%,
going to the
yeah.
final. It looks like Clonkill are already there.
It looks like Clonkill are through, and it's one of much of the other three.
It's between Raharney, Castletown, and
Loughlin
you'd have to
Two
fancy
places.
Raharney. They're going to be playing Crooked Wood, who are out of their depth, in my opinion, at this. So
Yeah.
that's what we suspected. But if you're in any doubt, watch AirV TV. We have the Loughlin Gales Castletown game, and we have the Clonkill Castlepollard game. You're more than welcome to join us here. You might even know the commentator. You might have heard his voice before. We're not 100% sure now. But that looks like Clonkill look like they're already in a semi-final. And it's up to 3 clubs now as to who's going to make. It's probably down to the Castletown Loughlin Gales game.
Probably comes to shootout then.
It's a shootout more than likely with that one, because we do expect...
You'd imagine either team's forwards would decide that, to be fair, with the quality of both teams possessing the forward line.
Yeah, and it's probably the 3 teams at the start of the championship, Tom, that we thought would be there.
Yeah.
The Senior B, I don't think is as clear cut, is it? There's a few anomalies in the Senior B. We have Cullen on top. They look like they're going to make a semi-final, all right. Not guaranteed, of course, yet. Your Father Dalton's on 4, Delvin on 4, and Bridges on 3. You can nearly rule Brownstown out, I think, at this stage. They're not good. They don't look like they're going to make it at the moment. It'll be Clonkill and Father Dalton's. We would expect Father Dalton's to beat the second string of Clonkill in that one. It'll be Delvin and Cullen. That's the game probably of the Senior B Championship this weekend. And hard one to call, both maroon and white, I suppose, a clash of colours there. I just fancied Cullen last year. Maybe I was a little bit premature. I might have been a year early for them. I do fancy Cullen to come through that one, but I think both of them will probably be contesting the final at a later stage. Bridges and Brownstown, I think Bridges have to win that one to force any sort of hand of anybody else at the moment, and it looks like it's going to be down to the last round of games. The only team really that haven't anything to play for are Clonkill. They look like they're in heading backwards. The intermediate quarter-finals, of course, are on this weekend. It's already decided who's in those. They came from the second and third teams in Group 1 and the second and third teams in Group 2. So the quarter-finals at the weekend, Plunkett will play Clonkill, Castletown will play Jordan for a semi-final spot. Ringtown are already in a semi-final, and on the opposite end, Raharney are already in a semi-final. So that'll decide what it is. It's a busy weekend. It's also a busy weekend in the underage football end of things. We have quite a number of finals here. If you're out and about, restrictions are a little bit lifted at the moment. So if you get a chance, please, ladies and gentlemen, get off your arses, get out and watch the games. Support your local team, and if you're not supporting your local team, go and watch them, because these guys are putting in a huge amount of effort for it. But the Hurling Championship takes precedent this weekend. As I said, 2 games, Saturday and Sunday night here on AirV TV. You're more than welcome to join us here for any one of those games. But in 2 weeks' time, it'll be back to football. So next weekend, we'll be chatting about the hurling from the previous week, and we'll be looking forward to what promises to be an intriguing last week in the Football Championship on all fronts, and we'll be trying to make some head or tail of that. But for the moment, that's all we have for you here on the midweek game. My thanks to Thomas Mount, as always, for wonderful statistics and for setting up the area here for us and for his insight. And indeed, it's been an absolute pleasure to have Luke Dempsey here with us this evening to give us his immense knowledge of the game. So from Paul Doolan and from AirV TV, it's great. I would just like to say, anybody that has any comments, or if you want us to talk about anything on the show, please let us know. We're not infallible, I should say. So let us know if you have anything you want brought up, if there's something you'd like on the show, if you want to give us a shout, please do. Pass your comments on, good or bad, we don't mind. I have a thick skin, Luke Dempsey has an even thicker skin, and Thomas Mount has no skin. So let us know. We'll be here again. So from Paul Doolan and from Luke and from Thomas, it's good evening, and we'll see you again real soon. Here via Boo.